voice, you can really tell that it's morning. Like, where's my cup of coffee? Like, it's morning. I'm just missing you guys. I just want a little sit down chat with y'all. I put up a little Q&A box in my Instagram stories yesterday. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, go give it a like. But I put up this Q&A box asking questions and asking for suggestions for my next YouTube video. And that is where this idea of having a conversation about the reality of getting married young came from. I know I questioned before I got married the reality of getting married young. You hear different stories. Some people think it's the best thing in the world because they married their high school sweetheart and they lived happily ever after. And then we hear other sad stories where people got married young and it didn't work out and it ended in divorce. And that just ignites a lot of fear when you hear stories like that. And is there a right way? And is there a wrong way? Is there a perfect age? That's what we're talking about today. Now, I don't know about you, but my grandparents and my great-grandparents and my great-great-great-grandparents all got married at the ripe young age of anything between 17 and 19 years old. That is young. Fast forward to my parents' generation, and my mom got married at 29 and my dad was 26. Oh, Chuck and Sherry, how I love ya. And they are still married. The thing is, I remember growing up, my mom always saying to me, if I could do it over again, I'd get married younger. And she actually married a guy that was 3 years younger than her. Well, she said by the time she got to 29, the men that were in her age range from 29 to 30, whatever, she really questioned why they weren't married yet. And I know that sounds kind of interesting because I feel like, hello, millennials and Gen Z, we're questioning if something's wrong with you if you're getting married before the time that you're 30. However, back then, 30 was old to be getting married. So 29, she was really dying on the vine. Now, fast forward, and it's Elijah and I dating. At this point, I don't feel like I wouldn't totally consider myself so young. I feel like I was quite an average age to get married, but I would say Elijah was 20 when we got engaged and freshly 21 when we got married, which is quite young. Now, let's talk about the reality of this, of getting married at the young age of 20, 21, and 25. Now, I know 25 sounds average, and I think, to be honest, it quite is in the grand scheme of things. But at a large scale, yeah, we were still quite young. I had completed college, and I had moved up to a different part of the state than my family. I had really begun to grow some sort of independence from my family and kind of was forming my own life when I met Elijah. However, Elijah had just graduated from high school. So I had just graduated college. Elijah had just graduated high school when we met. Now that's a huge difference in just maturity and development and all the things. And I'll tell you, one of the hardest parts in our relationship was actually the fact that there was a age difference. But it wasn't actually so hard for us. I think it was harder personally for my friends that didn't know Elijah well. Friends that were back home or that had known me my whole life, they really questioned if I was making the right decision. And to be honest, rightfully so. I mean, Elijah and I dated for a year, and you know, when you are living in a different space from the friends that mean the most to you, it's hard to really get to know somebody that your friend is dating. Now listen, yes, it was quite challenging in the sense of I had friends questioning Elijah and who he was, but I feel like friends would do that regardless. I think age just was one of their really big concerns. But I want to list out just a couple reasons why I would say it's been incredible to get married at a young age, and then maybe reasons why it's challenging at the same time. So here we go. I would say one of my favorite parts of getting married at a young age is that we get to grow and mature together. You have to come into the marriage, though, understanding that you are going to continue to grow and mature, and that you're willing to go on that journey with each other together. I think it would be crazy to think that the person you're marrying is going to be the exact same way that they are today for the rest of their life. You have to come in with an open mind and realize that I think there's some study that's done that's like you are actually married to 7 different people in the time frame of an average marriage because of the different levels of maturity and development and growth that happen in a person just naturally. So, I mean, think about who I was at 21 versus 25 versus 30. That feels like even 3 different people. Granted, I'm not 30 yet, but even just the level of growth that has happened within my 20s, it's huge. It's so big. I think one of the other really cool things is actually that you get to sacrifice for somebody else. Now, if you're not in a space where you're willing to make sacrifices, this is going to be absolutely miserable. If you're not in a space where you feel like maybe my dreams, my personal dreams that I just want to go after on my own, that your husband or your wife is not involved in, like pursuing a education or pursuing a different career in a different state or whatever it is, those things will need to be sacrificed in certain situations, in certain scenarios. When we got married, Elijah started a business and it was his dream. So I actually began to come in and support and sacrifice in a way, of course, that, yeah, if I was just living my life on my own, I probably would be going down a different road in terms of my education or whatever. But I actually get to sacrifice for somebody that I love in this season, and it actually brings me so much joy and fulfillment because I get to see him achieve and pursue things in ways that I know in a different season he'll do for me. And we talk about that. We come in open-minded with the idea that these are personal dreams and aspirations that I have in my life, and we have the rest of our life to pursue these things. So just giving it some patience that I'm learning to grow in, but just being patient and really surrendering your timeline even within your marriage for when you think you're going to grow your family, buy a home, pursue a different career. All those things kind of have to be put on the back burner, but realistically, you'd have to do that in your own life. God is so much bigger than our personal plan. He always is like, great, glad you have a plan. Here's a different one. I would say on the flip of that, that's also been a really hard part of getting married young is, I think, more so for Elijah. And I've shared this in previous videos, but more so for Elijah in the sense he didn't go off to college and finish a career and kind of have those exploratory years where that's where it's been a little different for us. Because I'm older, I did have quite a few of those years where I was just discovering and figuring out what it was that I loved and what I wanted to do. And Elijah came into marriage and had not truly done that. So I think for him, there was this pressure that he's supposed to have it all figured out and that we were supposed to be on this, 10-month track to buying a house and and just checking all these boxes off the list when he was actually just needing to be in a space where he had freedom to discover and learn and figure out what it is that he loves to do and wants to do for the rest of his life. Granted, the things that I saw in Elijah that I needed to see, that qualities for a husband, I didn't need to see that he was going to have a career. I need to see that he was capable of having a career. What I mean by that is that he wasn't already set up in a, amazing lifetime career path, but that he was capable of that he had a drive within him, that he had a responsibility, and that he was pursuing that in the ways that seemed appropriate and healthy for where we're at in life right now. So that was one of the big things that I needed to see in getting married and engaged young. Wasn't so much that we had it all figured out, that we were set up in a career and making 3 figures and all that kind of stuff, or 6 figures, 3 figures. But I needed to see that he was heading in a direction where he had drive and vision for his life, and drive meaning that he actually went and pursues the things he wants in his life. He didn't just wait for them to come to him, but he was active in the pursuit of those things. And I definitely saw that with Elijah. And I would say that's a huge key when you're just looking for somebody to marry in general. Like, are they passionate and actually willing to pursue the things that they want to pursue? Another big thing was people ask all the time is, what did your parents say? What did your parents think? Now, my parents were very supportive because, like I said, my parents got married. Well, my dad was quite average, but my mom technically older for her time. And she always thought there's something really beautiful about people that are able to find the one when they're younger, somebody that's healthy and marryable and all the things. How fun and how beautiful is it that you get to build your life together? My dad, I would say, he was a little bit more hesitant initially, and I mean, I gotta give it to him. I came home like 6 months after dating Elijah and was like, Dad, I think I'm gonna marry Elijah. And he was like, you haven't dated for 6 months, like, what are you talking about? And he just had a lot of questions like, well, where are you gonna live and how is he gonna provide for you? And questions that were answered once he got to know Elijah, but really valid questions. And I would say that's appropriate. You definitely, in that young phase of marriage and relationship, get all of the outside advice from older couples, from wise people that you trust in your life. Get their input and advice into the decisions that you're making and into your relationship. I would say that's been the biggest key in our marriage, is that when we find ourselves in a spot where it doesn't feel like it's going well, we have people that we trust and rely on to give us wisdom and feedback in our lives. I highly suggest having outside input into your marriage and into your life. But those are just a few really beautiful reasons why I have loved getting married at a young age. Even in the challenging aspects of those, overall, I mean, what an incredible opportunity to love someone throughout every season of life, when it's beautiful and going so well and just so smooth and awesome, and then when it's challenging and you're over it and you're just sick of this thing and you still get to choose to love them. I mean, that's incredible. I think there's a lot of fear surrounding getting married young for a lot of really good reasons, to be honest. I think we live in a society where we've seen divorce rates skyrocket in the last generation, where we've seen marriages not work out, and people are wondering, what is it? What have we done wrong? And I think, when you come into marriage, there's a lot of work that has to be done before you even get engaged, before you even plan to get married. And I don't mean just like the work of dating. I mean the work of asking really hard questions and going to couples therapy, going to that premarital class that's going to bring up topics and conversations that you need to consider. And also, personally, you need to be really self-aware and ask yourself the really hard questions of, have I just grown codependent on this person, or are they actually somebody I could picture myself loving for the rest of my life, unconditionally, for the rest of my life? Ask yourself those really hard questions. Become so self-aware and bring God into that journey with you. Ask Him for His input and His advice, and to show you in the areas in your personal life that you need to become really self-aware. We need to figure out what's going on inside, because if we get into a marriage because we think it's going to save us, that it's going to make us better, that it's going to be our safety net, all those things, we are fooled. I think you need to come into marriage with a clear lens and a really whole self, a really healthy self. Because you could have an awesome relationship, but your internal world and drive and desire to be in marriage could be totally unhealthy and off. We want to get those things sorted out. That will set us up so much better for getting into marriage, especially if we're young. Okay, I kind of feel like I just rambled in this whole video, but here it is. Here are some first thoughts on the reality of getting married young. Okay, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want more videos like this, feel free to give it a like and a subscribe, and comment in the comments below if you enjoyed this video, what was helpful for you, and I will see y'all